Hello, my name is Will, and we're going to be going over my sophomore game project from my time at the DigiPen Institute of Technology. There's a game called The Rabbit School, a team of around fluctuate between 11 and 13 people, on which I was the producer, the audio programmer. I did a lot of UI implementation, and I did a lot of minor gameplay features. So this is the game. Start off with the main menu, which I had to implement through a JSON editor that another one of the programmers made up. Had to write sliders so that we could change the audio, and had to try to fix this bug where it doesn't slide out the right pace, but wasn't able to fix that on time because of, I think it was some restriction in the back end of the UI. Yeah, pretty simple main menu, so jumping straight into it. This is a game where you are playing as a little rabbit running around. I had to do a little bit of coding for the rabbit. Some of the dash effect, if I remember correctly, while another player handled the normal base movement and jumping. I had to hook up a lot of the animations actually, so that when the rabbit jumped, you'll notice that it actually changes from a jumping upward spike to a middle of a jump spike and then a falling spike. That was very buggy. It took a long time to figure out. The checkpoints were mine in terms of the back-end functionality and making the particles pop up. Dashing up here over to here. I remember this. I had to go into... We had a lovely editor that a programmer named Mars cooked up for us, which was just editing a lot of the values in JSON, because all these are basically like objects with a particle engine added onto it. So I could be like, oh, this many leaves need to fall with these spikes or whatever. And I had to go in and hook up a lot of these to make sure that they actually popped out the right leaves, and the brown leaves fall normally and the green leaves like shoot up because it's alive and springy. And I had to hook up the level transition at the very least, and this little animation that I had to hook up. Not do, but I hooked up while I talk a little bit more about the game and what I did. And can talk about the pause menu, which I had to implement in the last couple weeks of the project, using again just the UI backend that Lindy, one of the programmers, hooked up, and a lot of the I wrote the code for like the actual buttons, doing actions and swapping scenes and resuming the game. And one of my biggest contributions, not visually but mechanically, is coming up in the next level, where this level is just a sort of transition. These are essentially tutorials. You got the 3 base levels, and then you got 2 of these cave levels, and these cave levels are basically to make sure, hey, do you know what's going on? With this cave level being teaching you to make sure that you know how to actually use the dash mechanic to dash between these large gaps in a safe environment, sort of like how Nintendo does a lot of their Mario stuff. Moving quickly up here, past all these little trees, and the nice lovely art by our art team, to transition into the first level with the ink wave, which mechanically was a lot of my work. You'll notice that as it gets closer, the music changes. Its speed dynamically changes, so that if the player gets super far ahead of it, the ink wave will actually speed up to catch up a little bit faster. So you can see it's climbing pretty fast right now. And then as it gets to me, it slows down a little bit. Hit the checkpoint and run up here. I also had to code the death effect for this game. So if I just jump into the ink wave, you bounce off it to give you a little second chance. The ink wave climbs up, and then it plays a little animation of the rabbit going into the jump to restart thing, which is lovely animations done by Derek, I believe was the animator for that. Really good artist. And then respawn back at the checkpoint that I hit. Jump up here, dash, fall, and not make it back up in time, and just mash jump to get the restart instantly. These little collapsible platforms, which... There we go. We can climb up there, get up here, little particles at the bottom of the waterfall. Climb up. And the music, you'll notice, actually does dynamically shift between a sort of calmer version, and then as the Inkwave approaches, those big instruments actually more pop in, and then we end the level. And then it fades back into the normal music, which was a very, very fun and cute touch. This level teaching us about the bouncy clouds, which I believe, if I check the Visual Studio right now, we're very bouncy. Okay. Bounce up here, bounce up, and then into the final level of the game, which if I dash into, just an Inkwave, and then a lot of work here actually to make the backgrounds sync up correctly, because right now it's just a painterly background that Ange, our background artist, did. Hit that checkpoint. Eventually the Inkwave will start to pop up and be terrifyingly fast as it catches up to me. In fact, if I pause here for just a second, I remember I made the Inkwave super aggressive, and then the designer had me tone it down a little bit because it would just rocket back up onto the screen. And then we had to cap its max speed actually pretty low, because the designers had trouble with it. Balancing the difficulty of this game was a fun challenge. But as we pop up here, we start to run into those clouds that we tutorialized earlier as the background transitions into a lovely little sky. And the player escapes from the deadly Inkwave to hit the golden peach and play a little animation of them spinning as they attain enlightenment and finish the game. And then the moon that is put there changes depending on how many peaches you collected over the course of the game. So you can get either like a crescent moon, a half moon, or a full moon. And then we scroll all the way down through the level, through all the different backgrounds that we had, because we get 3 different backgrounds: the base of the mountain, the middle, and then as we approach the sky, back to the original little page tree with its particles falling. And then we go into the credits. And that was my sophomore year game project, where I implemented the audio engine. I did a lot of the UI work about the buttons and sliders. I did a lot of the implementation for the levels to make sure the particles and everything played correctly. I did some of the movement work, like the dash, I believe it was mine, as well as the death on the player, and a lot of the coordination for the team. And that was our sophomore year game project.